All right, everybody. Welcome back to another Art with Errol podcast. This is our Monday check in. Let's go. Whew. What a week. What a week it's been, everybody. Man, we had a full 7 days of being sick, and it seems to be carrying over. It's just lingering, y'all. Lingering. And that's basically what I wanted to talk about today was, you know, trying to get back to normal or getting back to normal after being sick. We're slowly coming out of this. Um, Man, it seems like, I always get hit with it, man. I don't know, man. I don't know. But last week was truly rough, y'all. Really rough. I mean, coughing and hacking up, and I'm still kind of coughing and hacking up, but it's definitely decreasing, which is a good sign because it was a real struggle, and I had very low energy last week to barely get anything done. Um, we tried to power through, and powering through can be a good thing, but doesn't always work out. Especially in some of the videos. But I pushed the limits of what I could do while I was sick. So last week we did do the podcast. We also we did get some artwork done. It wasn't as much as I wanted to, and we got, I think, at least one game stream in, which was struggle. I was struggling through that too. Um, so overall, we made some content. We did our bit of gaming news every day, which it was a struggle every morning trying to get something laid out. So it was a rough week last week, y'all. I just, and this week I'm hoping that we're on the up and up. I mean, I'm starting to feel a little better. I did go to the doctor, so I didn't have COVID, and it wasn't strep throat. Those are like the two major things that, like, what could have been going on, because my throat was hurting and all that, and it was a possibility it could have been strep throat, but it wasn't. So that was a good sign. But it just, it's something you gotta kind of fight through. It's basically like a cold, a viral cold or whatever. So I feel like I'm starting to come out of it, but man, it's a slow one, y'all. It's rough, man. And you can probably still hear it in my voice. Like I don't have, it's not as, my voice doesn't feel the same. um, and I'm still coughing, so it's still like, it's still on my back, yo. It's still riding my back. But very frustrating week, y'all. Because I wanted to hit the year running. I wanted to come out strong and be making content and stuff, and trying out the new format which we've been trying to run. But it's truly a struggle. So I think what we gotta do is we gotta slow down. I tried to do what I could last week, but we just gotta take it a little slower, and maybe we can ramp up as I get better. I still want to do as much art as I can during the week, so we're gonna try and maybe get started on some painting of the Jesus we was drawing. I think that might be a good move. If we can get at least 30 minutes, that would be great. We'll try our best after the podcast. So if you want to join back when I'm going to shut down the stream, and we'll bring it back up once I get everything uploaded. So, but yeah, really frustrating. Really frustrating, y'all. My throat still feels messed up, but it's not as bad. It doesn't feel as bad as it did last week. So, really good news on that front, y'all. I wanted to also, kind of talk about, what we're going to do this week. So, we're going to slow it down, we'll try to do today a little bit of artwork. I'll try to get maybe a little gaming in tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow, Wednesday. When we come back Wednesday, because I always got to take Tuesdays off for activities, after school activities and stuff. So we'll try to get Wednesday in a little art and gaming, and then hopefully Thursday same. And then if I can on Friday, we will try to do just full on artwork to try like hopefully finish out, our art piece. So that's the goal. How much of that can we achieve? It's really gonna be on how I'm feeling. If I'm still feeling better and better and better, hopefully we can get through all this and it'll be great. And then we'll keep running that format, from here on out. If I have to tailor back, I may just do one or the other, and we're just gonna go that way until we can get better, because I really want to feel better when I'm making these videos and content and stuff. So I need to slow it down some, so easing back into it. I think that's the thing. I don't want to rush things. I want to ease back into it. So maybe we'll do just 1 day of gaming, 1 day of art, or 2 days of art, something like that. Maybe I'll break it up like that. I don't know. We're gonna figure something out for this week, though. Really, I have a mindset of what I want to do, but it ain't gonna be perfect. I already know. So the realistic expectation, I think, would be, if we can get in at least 2 or 3 art videos in this week, or art streams in this week, that would be great. If we can get in 1 or 2 would be great, ideal, right? If we can get in at least 1 gaming session, that would be nice too. So, but I would like to get a couple of art 30-minute sessions in, or something like that. That would be nice. So just trying to stay encouraged, everybody. I think above everything else, if we can just stay encouraged and just try to regain momentum, maybe over next week, and then kind of like go full steam into the content. I mean, I that's my hope, but I really, like I said, I really need to get over this cold, because it's been kicking my butt, y'all. It's been kicking my butt, and trying to stay with it and make content, it's rough. It really is, because when you're not feeling well, it's hard enough to speak and think about all these things you're trying to for your video. It's hard enough to do that, let alone make the video and then edit the video and then post the video. So, all the steps in the process, is a real struggle when you're not feeling well, y'all. It really is. And I really want to get over this so we can get back to normal, that would be wonderful for me, because I'm struggling. I'm struggling on all aspects of life right now. But I work. I'm still working. I didn't take time off from work because it wasn't nothing that the doctor had any concerns about me getting other folks sick or anything. So yeah, we just need to get rid of this, whatever's going on in the throat here, and we'll be good. And it could be a combination of allergies, because there is something going on, or there is something that's been in the air, and maybe a little cold or something. I don't know. But, we're trying to fight through it, taking vitamins, the doctor did give me some antibiotics, so I am taking some antibiotics. See if that's going to help, like a little Z-Pack or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, y'all, that's kind of where we're at you know. Um, and I think if we can get to normal, and I don't mean we're like full speed ahead. I think if we can just get to where we can just, you know, back in the flow, that would be great, you know. And because I want to keep moving forward, y'all. I feel like we made such good progress last year. I want to keep that momentum going of making progress this year, and you know, getting more relaxed and being able to speak better and make really good content. You know, I want to get to that level, so I just got to keep making content, keep pushing, so that we can get there. You know, because it's a process. I feel like it's a process. You know, you only get better over time. So you know what is the saying? You know, the 10,000 hours or whatever. So we got to get there. You know, and how do you get there? You got to keep putting in the effort. You got to keep trying to improve and putting in the effort. So I think, you know, time off is good, but you know, also, you know, trying to power through. I think that's where we're at. We want to power through. Yeah. So mentally, you know, and physically, I want to be in the game, you know. But you know, I got to get better to be physically, you know. Probably mental too. You know, you lose a little bit of mental with that. And with this podcast, you know, the goal is always to, you know, try to bring positivity and, you know, think about our way forward and, you know, try to improve ourselves, you know, in our content creation journey. There goes that cuckoo clock. um, yeah. So I'm drinking plenty of fluids, y'all. My wife made some wonderful chicken noodle soup, so I can't wait to have it. I had some yesterday, and it was really good. Homemade, you know. She did all the stuff. I mean, it was great. So I'm very excited about that soup. Trying to get better, y'all. Trying to get better. Really am. Trying to drink fluids. Trying to do all the stuff. Taking some medicine. Doing all the things to try to get better. So hopefully this week we'll get back to like a normal state, like I said, you know, and then, you know, next week we'll kind of like push ourselves, you know, and dive deeper into what we want to do. Yeah, that's where we at, and you know, I want to keep moving forward. I want to do all this stuff, but like I said, it's been a little struggle. It's been a little struggle last week. I had plans of doing more than what we did last week. You know, Friday I didn't do anything. Like I was so down and out for the count after like I went to the doctor and all that. Then we had family stuff we had to take care of. By the time we got home and stuff, I just was not with it to like, you know, fire up the stream and start working on artwork. So I think once I'm better, you know, we'll be able to do a lot more. Hopefully, you know, I really don't do stuff on the weekends because, you know, to me that's family time. I try to, you know, take care of all that, you know, on the weekend, just, you know, spending time with the family and getting laundry and all the stuff done, house clean, all the stuff, you know, that you got to do, all your grown up stuff that you got to do, you know, try to get that done on the weekend. So, and during the week, you know, we only get these like small hours, you know, this small section of time during the day, which is pretty much from like 2 p.m., which is 2 p.m. now. I started a little early. I got home and I was like, oh, I can probably get this up and running. So we got it up and running a little bit earlier, but that's not always the case. And then so it's usually from 2 to about 4 p.m. So it's only like 2.5 hours, 2 hours and a half, or something like that, or 3 hours. I mean, you know, um, sometimes we can get a little longer, not all the time. Uh, so yeah, that's about where we're at. About 2 hours of content creation time. And I want to break it up to like half and half. Where we're doing a podcast on Monday, for at least 30 or 40 minutes. If we can get to 40 minutes, I never really make it to 40 minutes. And then, doing artwork for like the rest of that time, with a little upload time, because I gotta save the video and then upload it to YouTube and all that. So, got the podcast, then we take a break, do the upload. Then because I'm not really editing this, the podcast is what it is. When it turns out, that's what I'm just posting or reposting to Spotify and all the platforms, right? So Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music. So we take the time to just upload, and then we can come back, set up for art, do like at least 30 to 40 minutes of art. I think that's where we're at with it for the Monday. And then the Wednesday and Thursday is hopefully, 30 to 40 minutes of gaming or so, and then 30 minutes or so of art. We're trying to break it up, Same so for those 2 days. So that's gonna be our, Wednesday and Thursday. And then I'm thinking, Friday is just straight. We're just art streaming, hopefully finishing up whatever piece we're working on. But I'm not really worried about carryover from one week to the next. If we have to like spend more time, I think we're just gonna take our time with pieces from here on for this year. Oh man. My throat is just all jacked up, y'all. The struggle is for real. It really is, The struggle is for real. And I wish I had a better outline for today. I don't really have a great outline. I wanted to talk about, just being sick last week. Which you can kind of sum that up, in a little bit. But, like a few sentences, I guess. But, it really was a struggle. And I think, it's important to talk about these things because what do you do when you got so much going on and you're still trying to do things? How do you handle it? How do you handle it? Do you think about it like if you get sick or how do you handle all the things? Are you still powering through like I've been trying to do? Like you still doing your job, taking care of the fam, and still trying to push the content. It's a struggle. It really is. It's not easy. When you got so much going on and you want to make these things happen, the only way you get support is if people participate or it's kind of a challenge, because you want to make good content, you want people to be engaged, you want folks to join in on your content, but you got to make content in order to get the people to come in and join in and listen and follow and watch your stuff, so you have to keep working at it, regardless of how you feel sometimes. The person that's usually successful is the person that gets up even though they don't want to do it and do it anyway. And that's the truth, man. The person that gets up and does it when they really don't want to do it. If you think about like a David Goggins or something, he gets up and he has to convince himself to go run, but he does. And then he gets out there because he knows that's how you be successful. When you don't want to do it, that's the time you got to really dig deep, dig down deep. When that feeling comes upon you that like you don't want to do it, that's the time you got to do it. You got to kind of defeat that part of your brain to show your brain that you're in charge. You got to say, hey, I'm in charge. This is what's going down. You gotta dig deep sometimes, even when you don't want to do something. And that's what makes a successful person, because they're gonna fight through those moments. They're gonna fight through them. If you give in to those moments, you're more susceptible to not doing it, and then falling off the wagon. Everybody knows that term of falling off the wagon. You fall off the wagon. You miss that one day. Well, wasn't feeling good. Then you miss another day. Well, still wasn't feeling good. Then you into the next week. Well, I'm starting to feel better, but, I'm not there yet. And then it's been 2-3 weeks and you're like, I've been messing up. I missed all this time. So, sometimes you just have to just power through. You have to dig down deep, dig your heels in, or whatever they say. Because successful people are the ones that show up, even when they don't want to. Even when they don't want to. So that's where I'm at with it, y'all. And I'm not gonna say I'm perfect, because I did miss Friday. By the time I finished everything for the day, I was not with it, But I got back up Saturday morning and I made a bit of gaming news video. I still made a video. I might not have got the art video done or the art stream in, but I still got up the next day and made I made content. And it was painful. I was struggling through the whole process. So yeah, I'm not perfect, but I still believe that, you have to keep pushing. You have to keep trying. And that's why, even though I was sick all week, and I'm still kind of sick this week, coming into this week, we're going to power through this week too. We're going to keep pushing, and we're going to keep making content, and we're going to keep trying our best. Whether or not we are successful on some of these videos, some of this content we're making, we're going to keep trying, and we're going to keep trying to figure out, how we get better. And if that takes 1,000, if it takes 100,000 times, I don't know, we're going to figure it out, but we're going to keep pushing forward, We're going to keep pushing forward, And a lot of times for some people like myself, success don't come easy. So you got to push even harder than the next guy. And if you're like me, we've got to work harder than everybody else. If you are like me, we got to work harder than everybody else. Because people just may not show up for us. So we got to keep pushing and keep working at it until we can, break through. You know, there'll be a breakthrough moment for us. We gotta find it, and we gotta fight for it. You know, we gotta fight for it, y'all. Stay encouraged, stay positive. I had some weirdo come in my bit of gaming news, and he had to say something like, "I didn't learn anything from this." I could quote it directly. It just so ignorant and so ignorant and just so disrespectful. Like, well, why you even comment? Like, you just want to be negative for be negative. There's those people out there that just want to be negative to be negative. And a lot of times you gotta shake it off. This person's just being disrespectful because maybe things aren't going their way. But I can't even find it now because I'm getting comments, y'all. We're getting comments. That's why I can't even find it. But the trip part about it is, you gotta be mean and nasty because whatever's going on in your life, it's not seeing the level of success that video, for whatever reason you're disappointed in the success of that video, because the video was starting to get views and stuff. And there's people out there that's just gonna hate on you for no reason, man. It just happens, man. And you gotta shake that stuff off. I try to shake that stuff off too. Like, people think, man, I read the comments. So if you comment, I'm reading it. I may not always respond, but I'm reading it. I think it was on this video. Let me see. Yeah, I don't remember which one it was on now. But yeah, I'm sure it's still up. I didn't ban the guy, but the fact that you gotta have the right attitude, and you can't let other people bring you down, was what I was getting at. Because you're gonna have negative folks, you're gonna have people that just want to be mean and nasty for no reason. You just gotta shake it off. You give them too much of your time, and then it's not worth it. We're powering through though, and we're gonna keep pushing, y'all. We're gonna keep pushing. No matter how long it takes, we're gonna keep pushing. That's where I feel about it. Because this is something you can just keep working at. And eventually you'll have a breakthrough. That's what I believe. You keep putting in the hard work, and you're eventually going to have a breakthrough. And we're gonna keep working, y'all. We're gonna keep working all year. Like I said, we had a good year last year. I was looking at, just from where we stopped in January. The beginning of January, we're already on our gaming channel. We're hitting 231 subscribers now. We was at what, 220 or something, 220 something when we ended the year, I believe it was. Which is, amazing. That's, to me, I feel good about that. I feel good about that. I'm not pulling numbers like, a lot of these other folks that, get like, lots and lots of subscribers. But I feel like the channel is growing. It's getting seen by more people. This all positive stuff to me, And I want to keep things as positive as we can, y'all. moving forward. I want to keep it as positive as we can. I want to pull up Social Blade and kind of look at maybe it can kind of, because I know it has a chart on Social Blade. Let's see. And okay. And it's pretty up to date. You know, we're getting a lot more visibility now, I think. You know, just looking at some of these numbers here, you know, future projection, I think that done changed too. Because it was saying we was going to hit 500. See, now it's saying by October we could get to 500 subscribers, you know. Whereas before it was in November, you know. So to me, I feel like we're making really good progress, man. Like, you know, numbers are looking good, you know, on that channel. I want to push the art content like that. So that's why I want to get more art content done this year. So we can be uploading more to our art channel. We're going to keep pushing that, man. Over here on Twitch, it's been a slow growth. I mean, I hardly see any growth, but I don't stream enough on Twitch, and that's that was part of the goal too this year, was to get more streams in, you know. But like I said, we gotta get over this cold and try to get all those extra streams in, you know. That would be great if we can do that. So, if not this week, we definitely looking at next week. You know, that's, you know, my mindset. You know, I'm going to try to get as much done this week as we can. And next week, we're going to try to come back even stronger. And I think that's a good spot to end it on, y'all. I mean, we didn't hit 30 minutes. You know, I'll be excited when I hit 30 minutes, y'all. It's sometimes hard or difficult to do a podcast by yourself. And, you know, I know it's even harder to keep people engaged and entertained. You know, that's, you know, an aspect I got to work on as well, you know. But, you know, I feel like as I get more comfortable, you know, doing this, and, you know, I have better outlines, because I got to do better outline for the next one. But, you know, having an outline, something we can kind of like talk about, you know, going down, just little bullet points. I try to have like little bullet points to hit, you know, for this. At least that's what I've been trying to do, you know. I think I just didn't do a good job for what I wanted to talk about today. So we kind of winged it a little bit, but that's okay. You know, you got to keep moving forward, y'all. And that's our plan for this year. And I'm not going to stop. You know, we're going to keep on pushing. So I think what we're going to do here is we'll end this podcast. We will come back and you know, if once I get it uploaded to YouTube and Spotify, I'll try to set the art stuff up. We'll get hopefully 30 minutes of art in, and that will be our content for today. So, you know, stay tuned as always. You know, I'm going to keep bringing the Monday podcast in, because a lot of times this, like I said, the podcast is really mentally helping me. You know, sometimes I'm just like putting my thoughts out and I can hear them, you know. So, you know, I kind of like to be able to like do that. And hopefully it's helping someone else, like, you know, in some aspect. If it is, that's wonderful. If not, it'll help me, you know, mentally recharge myself and motivate myself to do these things. Because when I say these things, I'm like, you know, I'm trying to motivate myself as well as other people to like want to do better, you know, and push yourself, you know. So that's the goal or the intent, um, and I feel like for me, it's a motivation thing, you know. So we'll go ahead and end it here. Don't forget that we are putting this podcast not just here on Twitch. It's gonna be on YouTube, the Art with Errol podcast, and it's also on Spotify. It's gonna be on Amazon Music if that's why you're listening to your podcast. It's gonna be on Apple Podcasts. So the RSS feed goes from Spotify to all those platforms. So you should be able to find it and listen to it. Or if you want to watch it, I think watching it is just the replay is going to be on Twitch, YouTube, and Spotify. That's where the video version where you can just look at me. I ain't really got nothing special on the screen. The goal is to at some point, hopefully have guests. I got to work up to that. That's something it's podcasting thing. Like I said, we only been doing it, what, was it 6 months, 7 months, something like that. So we're still kind of building up to that. I do want to try to do more stuff with other creators, but, sometimes it's just hard to because I don't really know other creators like that. I had a couple friends, but they quit. I have another friend that's on YouTube. Well, not a friend, but I guess you call them acquaintances. People that or whatever. Maybe I can see if he would like to join in on one, and we just shoot the shit about content creation. We can definitely try to run that. I just got to figure out how to do it, because we're definitely not in the same location. So maybe trying to figure that out and work that in would be, wonderful, So I'm going to try to figure those things out. And I did say I did want to get out and try to meet people too, and go to an event. I want to do that too. I just got to figure out, if I can do an event or go to an event, and just be there, hand out T-shirts or stickers or something. I don't know. Figure something out, man. So got a lot of big dreams and aspirations. I said this before for this year, but how much can we make happen? I think that's going to be dependent upon family life and stuff too. So, yeah, I appreciate you for hanging in this long, listening to me ramble about being sick, not feeling well, and still trying to make content. Don't forget to drop likes, wherever you're listening to this. Subscribe to the channel, whatever platform it's on. Do all that stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.